Yeah, so we came on board with Blizzard as one of their technology partners. So providing all the hardware, all the PCs and displays being used at the Overwatch League arena in the practice areas, working closely with all the teams to make sure they have all the hardware they need to really play the game reliably. Play the game reliably at a very demanding settings and really give them everything they need to perform at their best. So it's been very exciting to work closely with all the different teams and the players. Even going into this, having worked in um, the esports scene for a little bit, it's not until you sit down with individual players and kind of go through how they need to set up their equipment for them to function. It's crazy how unique each player, even just looking at the Overwatch League roster, like all 130 plus of them, so many of them have just their small quirks and unique differences that really reflects in how they play. And so for us, the most exciting thing to do as a technology partner is to come in and kind of learn more about like why that matters. Like why is it that you need your mouse sensitivity to be like this, and you turn your keyboard this way, and your mouse pad needs to be this big, and everything needs to be right. So when you sit down and you're ready to play, you can just go. And so by learning through that process and getting all that feedback, that allows us as a technology company who creates these products from scratch to go back and make bigger and better things that kind of suits this need. And so one of the most exciting things I would say working with the Overwatch League is going to eventually produce is later on down the line when we're creating products that like stemmed from these conversations that we're having with these pros. And so we'll have PCs and displays and mice that are out there that the conception of it started with conversations that we've had with these guys, and we know that we're making something at a pro level using the feedback from these pro players. So I would say one of the more interesting stories that we've kind of, that's kind of come to fruition through this whole process. There's a player by the name of Surefour, who plays for the LA Gladiators. Really well liked, great guy. And we sat down with him and we kind of started to dig into a bit more about, what's his play style, what's his settings loadout look like, and try to see, if everything that we're offering him from a hardware standpoint is, fitting the bill. And he started to kind of explain to us really interesting, like he has a very small mouse pad, okay? And he's what we refer to as kind of like a wrist player. So you'll notice like in a lot of pros where they have like their DPI settings at a certain angle, they'll either have like huge sweeping motions or they'll have like small quick ones, right? So he's a wrist player. And so we started talking to him about that because all that goes back and it's reflected in kind of like his settings within Overwatch and how he kind of sets up his sensitivity. And he was explaining to us that, the reason he plays like that, because he knows that's kind of weird. Like most pros are actually the opposite, right? And he's like, it all started because when he was a kid, he loved playing PC games, and he had a very, very small footprint in his home for his PC to be, and he had a very, very small mouse pad, and he literally just did not have any more room to expand. And so because he grew up playing that way, he got really used to just using his wrists to play. And so we found that to be extremely interesting. And so we talked to him about like, well, how can we help create something that is just, a better environment for wrist players? And even sometimes it's smaller things like, providing them with a mouse cord kind of like hanger. So you hang your mouse cord over so it's out of the way. We tried out different mouse pads with him, both soft and hard, to see which ones that he preferred better, all making sure we stayed within that small footprint for him because that's what he's used to. And so we found that was like a super interesting story and something that we were able to kind of come in and be like, here, try these out. How can we make this a real comfortable experience for you so you can just go do your thing? And we're able to solve that for him. That's interesting because it's not always the easiest thing to do. We do know that most fans they're also players, right? They want to play, and so I think a lot of it comes in the realm of like education and really getting them to understand the level of hardware requirements needed to perform at a professional level. Like you would be amazed at just some of the like the FPS requirements and the refresh rate requirements, and just how perfect the settings and how seamless the experience needs to be for a lot of these players in order to perform at this crazy level that they do. Like, we watch them play and we're blown away, and we're like, God, how are these guys so good? And a lot of it starts with the fact that they're playing on these high-end systems that meet these requirements, and they're reliable, and so they can just go in and do their thing. And so part of us as a hardware partner is to shine a light on that, to be like, look, understandably, Overwatch is designed to be a game that scales, due to the power of your PC, right? So you can play it on low settings, you can play it on high settings. It's not always just about, how great the graphics look, right? It really goes into also like how it can affect your gameplay and your performance. And so part of our job is to kind of help tell that story and show people that, look, this is what powerful hardware can do for you from a performance standpoint, and give you, a tactical advantage, to be quite honest, if you have the hardware to meet the demand. When you start to look at some of the more traditional sports spaces where you have the Nikes and the Spaldings and the Wilsons of the world, who they make the equipment, the balls and the shoes that all the athletes wear, that's our equivalent here in esports. If we make the computers, we make the displays, mice, keyboards, everything, right? And so if these are the tools that these esports athletes are going to be using on a daily basis, it just makes so much sense to us that we play a big part in that, and helping develop the scene, grow it, bring a level of professionalism to it, and really get the fan base excited around everything happening. I think for us, success is really going to be recognizable when we're just top of mind. When someone is having a conversation about esports or competitive gaming, and they think of like, okay, what are like the top 2 or 3 brands that have really made an impact in the space, and not just like, hey, they made cool content or whatever. They're like, they not only invested time and money, but they also helped grow it into a larger than life thing. They've expanded the audience. They really kind of helped it reach that tipping point into like mainstream. That is when we know that, we've hit success. When Omen is, up there on that short list of brands that we feel are going to be recognized as people who are really helping like usher in the next generation of sports. So, Omen has been around for 2 years, a baby in the space, if you think about it. And it's really interesting coming in, because we are HP at our core. So this 85-year-old brand that's just this PC and printer juggernaut. But in the gaming realm and with the gaming audience, it doesn't really mean that much. And so, which is why we created Omen, which is the dedicated gaming brand. And so while we are playing catch up to a lot of our predecessors who've been around for a very long time in this space, and they've built their brand and their credibility in that relationship, we are also doing that, but we needed to do it different. We understood that if we came in and we just did the same thing that all the gaming brands before us did, we would just get lost or wouldn't make any traction. And so we had to make really big bets and really big moves, while also kind of differentiating our approach in the market. And so, some of those bets and some of those moves included things like investing in the Overwatch League and being a part of what we feel is going to be like a monumental moment in esports when we kind of like look back like 10, 15 years from now. And then it also comes down into like our approach in marketing and the way that we tell our story. So at the end of the day, like Omen the brand, kind of like our mantra, and what we attempt to do here is like we inspire gamers to always be improving. Like everything that we do, every product we put out, every video we make, every social media post, whatever, it's always about like how are we inspiring the fan base, the gamers that are out there to improve themselves, whether it's performance-wise, whether it's being a better communicator, being a better team player, being a kinder person online. And so with that, we're really taking a page out of the book of traditional sports. So if you look at all the success that Nike and Adidas and Under Armour have kind of found like in the past in terms of like the athlete endorsement approach, where you take these icons that everyone looks up to and wants to be like, and you tell their story and you let them just kind of be who they are. but we endorse them, right? And so like they just use our product, and it's, we're essentially trying to be the shoes that they wear on the court. If you kind of look at someone like a LeBron James or a Kobe Bryant, and so our approach is very more player and team focused when it comes to marketing and content creation, and less product focused, which as a product company sounds a little weird, but it's actually been very successful for us. And we find that the reception from the fan base and the interest from the fan base is actually a lot higher because we're taking more of an athlete first approach in everything that we do.
For more Overwatch interviews and analysis, subscribe to our channel. You can also find stats, discussions, and more on our website and mobile app at blitzesports.com.